Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 3 of the Vuelta, España 2021. Exciting finish on today's stage. Now when the cameras come on, I'm sitting on the couch, it's 100 kilometers to go, and there's a breakaway of 8 riders already established up the road, and they got a ton of time. We're talking 7 minutes with 100 kilometers to go. Now today's stage, 202 kilometers long, about 125 miles in length, has a small category 3 near the beginning, and then with about 20 kilometers to go, there's a category 3, and then with 10 kilometers to go, the summit finish, category 1, Pecan Blanco. It's about 8 kilometers long and 9.3% average pitch. It is a steep climb to the finish. Now when I'm sitting on the couch and I see the break at over 7 minutes with more than 100 kilometers to go, I'm not too worried, but that's a solid time on 8 solid riders. We're talking 8 quality riders. The American Joe Dombrowski's there, Soto from Escatel Escudi, Tobias Bayer from Alpecin Phoenix, Lilian Calmy Jane from AG2R, Kenny Elizon, who won on the Angliru stage when I won my Vuelta back in 2013, Julian Amezqueta from Caja Royale, Rain Tarame, and Jetsi Bowl from Burgos BH. So it's a solid squad up there of 8 riders, and they're working well together throughout the whole stage. Behind, Jumbo Visma's riding basically with one guy. We're talking Robert Gessing back there is doing the bulk of the work. I love the tactics, Jumbo. You playing it right today, it's fabulous. Who cares about the breakaway? Who cares about keeping the red jersey? That's not a priority. Now, before the stage started, we saw last year with Jumbo Visma that Primoz Roglic talked about wanting to keep the red leader's jersey throughout every stage of the Vuelta. Now today, when I'm sitting on the couch, we're watching the time just start skyrocketing up. So after 100 kilometers at 7 minutes, starts going up to 8 minutes, reaches 9 minutes, and holds at 9 minutes for a long time. The clock really doesn't start coming down on the breakaway leaders until about 25 kilometers to go, and that's when the group behind is just carrying speed because the whole peloton's fighting for position for the category 3 climb up and over, and then of course fighting position for the last category 1 climb. I told you it's over 9% and it's a narrow road, so just the fighting in the peloton is what is increasing the speed and dropping the time on the breakaway riders. But they'll lose from 25 kilometers till 10 kilometers, the start of the last climb. That time will cut in half from 8 minutes to about 4 minutes. Now over the category 3 climb, the break had been working fabulous together with 8 riders all pulling through and taking their turn. Over the top, it's Lilian Calmy Jane, the AG2R rider, who now throws in the first attack out of the group of 8. He goes up the road, it's brought back immediately, and then he takes off again with his second attack finally breaking loose from the breakaway companions. He'll gain about 20 seconds, but that's it. Not a whole lot of time to start an 8-kilometer, 9% climb all the way to the finish, but Calmy Jane had no option. He's not a pure climber. We're talking about a group of 8 back there that's now 7 chasing him, and you have Kenny Elizon back there who's a pure climber. You have Rain Tarame, who's been a fabulous rider throughout his career, and of course Joe Dombrowski, who already won a mountain summit finish at this year's Giro in 2021. So there's quality climbers. Lilian Calmy Jane is putting it all on the line going early and trying to get a gap. Problem is, the 7 guys chasing him behind aren't giving him much of a leash. They'll start the last climb, 8 kilometers to go with only about a 20-second gap to Lilian Calmy Jane, and they'll bring him back with about 6 kilometers left of racing. 5 guys at the front now. Amezqueta, the Caja Royale riders hanging on for dear life. Joe Dombrowski, Kenny Elizon, and Rain Tarame. Then you throw in Lilian Calmy Jane, that's 5 guys up front, but it doesn't stay together that long. As Kenny Elizon puts in the first attack, we start seeing Amezqueta, the Caja Royale rider, coming off the back, followed by the AG2R rider. Lilian Calmy Jane comes off. Now it's a 3-way battle for the stage win. They got about 3.5 minute gap, and they got about 5 kilometers to go. Joe Dombrowski will put in the next attack with about 4 kilometers to go. Then with 3.5, he throws in another one. Then it's countered from Rein Taaramäe. Rein Taaramäe's acceleration is enough to pop Kenny Elizalde. The Trek Segafredo rider's coming off the back. The American Joe Dombrowski's hanging on for dear life, but can't do but about 200 or 300 meters on Rein Taaramäe's wheel and finally comes off. Rein Taaramäe's throwing everything in for the line, going solo, and he'll win today's stage in spectacular style. The Estonian rider takes a fabulous win for Intermarché. Now let's go back to the GC, guys, because there's a battle going on back there for the GC domination. And remember, Rein Taaramäe was only about a minute and a half down on GC when he was in the break today, and he started the climb with a 4-minute gap. So the GC guys back there, they're all setting pace, fighting for position, going into the start of the climb. It's Dylan van Baarle, the Ineos rider, who's doing a fabulous job again for Egan Bernal. Now, Dylan van Baarle is just an absolute master, a super domestique of looking after Egan Bernal. He has been beautiful throughout his career, but he's putting on a show here starting the last climb. Egan Bernal solidly locked onto his wheel when the climb starts proper. When we get on the climb, there's a little bit of a stalemate back there with all the GC favorites for the first 1 or 2 kilometers until it's Bahrain Victorious that gets on the front. Now, personally, all the tactics throughout today's stage I thought were fabulous. Jumbo-Visma willing to give the red jersey away so they don't have to work their team too hard. Great plan, Primož Roglič, to save energy of the team. I don't care if that group of 8 up there would have finished with 10 minutes on the end of the stage. That's all time that Primož Roglič can take back. They rode fantastic all the way to the start of the climb, and then Bahrain Victorious messes up everything, and I'm going to give you the Knucklehead Award because they start pulling on the front. Bahrain Victorious came in here with fabulous numbers. We're talking about Damiano Caruso, who was second at this year's Giro d'Italia. Mikel Landa, who's going to go for GC race here and try to win the Vuelta. Gino Mader, who's won stages at the Tour of Swiss, almost won at Paris-Nice. And then you're talking about Jan Tratnik. And let's not forget Marc Padone, who put on a show at this year's Criterium de Dauphiné. I mean, they have a fabulous team. There's no reason to get on the front and pull the #1 rider in the world, Primož Roglič, all the way up the climb. Just attack him. Had Bahrain Victorious back there been sending their lieutenants up the road left and right and keep Mikel Landa back there staying on the wheel of Primož Roglič and see if he blows or not, then jump across to a teammate, that's a fabulous tactic. But to just get on the front and ride as hard as you can on an over 9% climb, that is just crazy. The idea you're going to drop Primož Roglič with his kind of form this early into the Vuelta is absolutely ridiculous. Bad tactic, Knucklehead Award for Bahrain Victorious. After Bahrain Victorious is setting tempo, we'll see David de la Cruz back there that throws in the first attack. The UAE Team Emirates rider is going up the road. Adam Yates will jump across. Now this goes back to why I call Bahrain Victorious a knucklehead. When you look at Ineos, they came in with 3 leaders. This is the perfect tactic. Follow attacks, make attacks, but don't pull the #1 rider in the world, Primož Roglič, up the road. Now, Adam Yates follows the move with about 3-4 kilometers to go. We'll see the American Sepp Kuss coming out the back. Jumbo-Visma are losing their super domestique, and Primož Roglič is isolated and all on his own. Another reason why sending up attacks left and right with so many favorites from Bahrain Victorious could have done more damage to Primož Roglič when he's isolated with no domestiques left with him. Now, further as the GC guys get up the climb, we're talking about under 2 kilometers to go. It's Richard Carapaz, this year's podium, 3rd place finisher at the Tour de France, coming out the back and suffering. With 1.1 kilometers to go, it's Oscar Carta, the Burgos BH rider, that's throwing in the attack. This is a small team, so you got to applaud him when you're sitting on the couch watching one of the small Spanish teams throwing in attack amongst the big favorites back there. It doesn't last very long as Adam Yates will tempo it still back. Adam Yates does a fabulous job, though, at that moment. He goes to the front and he starts setting some tempo. Now, make no mistake, he's not attacking while his teammate's going out the back. You'll see in the photo, he even looks over his shoulder to get an idea of what's happening back there. Sure, he's hearing on the race radio from his team directors not to keep the pace fast Adam Yates steadies the pace. Richard Carapaz finds a way in the legs to get back up to the front group, and he's on the tail end, but he's suffering bad back there. And then we start seeing Richard Carapaz coming off the back for the second time. 200 meters later, you see Movistar get on the front. I'm sitting on the couch, I'm all smiles, because you got to wonder, there's some hate amongst the Movistar riders and the Movistar, I'm sure, directors and managers against Richard Carapaz still. We saw him last year when Richard Carapaz almost won the Vuelta on the last stage and they chased him down. Now it could just be coincidence, I don't know. But Richard Carapaz is coming out the back hard with under a kilometer to go. And then 200 meters later, Movistar is on the front and drilling. Just before the line, Enric Mas, with about 200 meters to go, will jump free of all the GC favorites and get a little bit of a gap at the finish line amongst the GC favorites behind, but only 5-10 seconds. But behind those favorites, you're talking about Hugh Carthy, Richard Carapaz, all losing time today. Don't forget Sepp Kuss, Steven Kruijswijk, another Jumbo-Visma Super Domestique rider who lost time on today's stage. They will come through minutes behind Primož Roglic's group of about 10 riders up front. Egan Bernal looked good in that group with Primož Roglic. Miguel Angel Lopez was there. Ciccone, the Trek Segafredo rider, we saw him riding good during the Giro d'Italia. He's bringing some good form again to here at the Tour of Spain and racing for general classification. We got a fabulous race in front of us. Keep in mind when the GC favorites cross the line, more than 145 behind Rein Tarame's win on today's stage. It will pass the red jersey over to the Intermarché rider. Rein Tarame is in red to start tomorrow's stage with about a 30-second lead on Primož Roglic and about 25 on Kenny Elizalde, the Trek Segafredo rider. Now, if you're wondering why I brought up the yellow jersey here, I brought this up. This is 2009 Tour de Leon. I was race leader on the last stage when it was Rein Tarame riding for Cofidis that year that dislodged me and dropped and hurt me hard that stage to win Tour de Leon and take the yellow jersey from me. Yes, I keep the yellows whether if I won the race or not, because just having yellow in itself is enough pride to always keep your race-winning jerseys. Unless, of course, you're going to give it to somebody that's going to hang it up on their wall and hang it with pride. Otherwise, I keep all the jerseys that I've had with me. Rein Tarame throughout his career, and he's been a professional for just a little bit less than 15 years, if I recall correctly, he has done an amazing stuff. You might not have heard his name because he flashes high and then drops lows. He's been top 10 in just about every big week-long stage race out there. He's won a stage of the Vuelta around 10 years ago. He's won a stage at the Giro more recently. He's a fabulous rider and a fantastic win today for Rein Tarame and his whole Intermarché team. Fabulous job today. Hope you guys enjoyed my take on the butterfly effect. We got a great 3 weeks basically of racing still to come. This was only stage 3. Stage 4 looks like a great finish on tomorrow's. That'll be a sprint, but you're going to have some good legs with a little uphill there to the finish line. That will decide who wins tomorrow's stage 4. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys real soon on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect.